Yo, what is going on, guys? It's C-Brev bringing y'all a different type of video today. In this one, I'm going to be going over everything you should take into consideration in regards to either using Lou Gehrig or Frank Thomas as your first baseman in Diamond Dynasty. As far as the background footage, this is just a clip of one of my better games from the Firm Summer Classic Invitational Tournament that I played in yesterday. And this ending had a couple good clips from both Frank Thomas and Lou Gehrig and kind of showed off the strengths and weaknesses of each, which I think is perfect for this video. So this is basically going to be a substitute for a card review for both of these cards, and I'm just going to go in depth on all the things I have thought about and you should think about in regards to picking one or the other. So first off, most importantly, is if you can afford it, if you have the stubs and you're high enough level, you should definitely have both guys on your team regardless of who starts, because the other one is going to be one of the most effective pinch hitters that you could possibly have in the game. I mean, both of their hitting stats are just crazy good, and so I definitely would recommend having both and having one of them on the bench. So let's get into who should start. So first off, let's talk about platooning. Under no circumstances ever, you could not make a single argument that would convince me that platooning these guys is a good idea. Their hitting stats are so good. It is such a colossal waste to platoon these guys. I've played against people online who have Lou Gehrig starting, and I draw Kershaw as my pitcher, and they pinch hit Frank Thomas for Lou Gehrig in the first inning. That is completely and utterly terrible strategy, in my opinion. First of all, you're already limiting your bench to 4 players in the first inning for really no reason, because they're basically the same cards statistically at the plate, and you're losing your best pinch hitter for later in the game off the bench when you do that. So platooning is fine if you have guys that have drastically different splits. Something like the Moments Bryce Harper card would come to mind as a good platoon option, but platooning a guy who has pretty much perfect hitting stats across the board is just not smart. So don't do that with these cards whatsoever. Every time I see that online, I cringe really, really hard for the reasons that I already mentioned. Next point I want to go over, and this is probably the most important point of the thing, is that you should pick the one that best suits your lineup construction. So obviously the biggest difference between these cards is one is right-handed and one is left-handed, and you can use this to your advantage to kind of give yourself some more options within your lineup. So you generally want to have an even amount of righties and lefties in your lineup, and you want to alternate them. So my ideal lineup is 2 switch hitters who hit leadoff and 8-hole, and then in between I have 3 lefties and 3 righties. 4 lefties and 4 righties works well. 4 switch hitters, 2 lefties, and 2 righties works well. Any combination where you can just keep the numbers even, that's the ideal lineup construction in my opinion. So if a lot of the cards that you like to use are left-handed, then Frank Thomas is probably the move for you, because you can use the guys that you trust that are left-handed, and you can keep your lineup balanced by using Frank instead of Gehrig. And as always, you can have Lou Gehrig coming off the bench. So the biggest suggestion I have is to just build a lineup around these guys and appreciate the fact that you can go righty heavy or lefty heavy, and one of these guys is going to help kind of bring it back into perspective. So for an example, in my lineup personally, I have Al Kaline, Willie Mays, and Rogers Hornsby, who are all right-handed hitters who I love and that I do not want to take out of the lineup. So that's the only reason I play Lou Gehrig at first base, because that then gives me 3 lefties. That leaves me with Ty Cobb and Tony Gwynn, and then Lou Gehrig is the 3rd lefty. So if I had a lefty-heavy lineup, like if I had more lefties than righties that I like, then I would go with Frank Thomas. I hope what I'm saying is coming through. That's just the best way to look at it, because they're basically the same card, right? So that's it for lineup construction. Third point I want to point out is there are slight differences in the performances of these cards, and this is going to be the more card review heavy portion of this video. So in my personal opinion, having a lot of experience with both of these cards, here is how I interpret their differences. So Lou Gehrig is faster and plays better defense and is a worse hitter, in my opinion, from my performances with these cards. Frank Thomas is a worse fielder and slower, but a much better hitter, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out which trait you would rather have. Would you rather have a better hitter, or would you rather have the fielding and the speed? Don't get me wrong, Gehrig is still a good hitter. He's just not in the same caliber as Frank Thomas, in my opinion. There's a lot of good squared ups that are outs with Lou Gehrig, a lot more than I experienced with Frank Thomas, and that's why I say he's a worse hitter. I also seem, over the course of many at-bats, I seem to hit for a lot less power with Gehrig as well. He's more of a singles and doubles kind of guy, despite his stats. And Frank Thomas just hits more home runs per plate appearance for me personally. So keep that in mind. That's my review on both of these cards as well. If I had to pick which card was better strictly, like if you're not torn on lefty-righty or anything like that, I would say that Frank Thomas is the better card as of right now. And then the last point I want to make is that we still have a signature series first baseman coming down the pipe who provides the opportunity to not even have this debate, and that's Albert Pujols. So as soon as we get a signature series Albert Pujols, he may blow this whole video out of the water, because based on his career stats, his peaks of his career, he'll probably have the hitting stats of Frank Thomas, and he'll probably be a diamond fielder. So once Pujols comes out, there might not be this debate anymore, but it's still definitely worth having both of these guys on your bench for pitch hitting purposes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you make the decision somewhere down the line. I hope you enjoyed the clip behind me talking. It was a pretty sweet game. Like and subscribe for more MLB The Show content, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.